So, welcome everyone to the third webinar of IWHP. And we have with us our esteemed speaker, Dr. Gitanjali Shah. She's going to talk to us about technogenic stress and its homeopathic management. I am Dr. Alka Parvati from Pune, and I'm going to be the moderator for today. To tell you a bit about Dr. Gitanjali Shah. Please mute yourself. Dr. Gitanjali Jha is not only a homeopath,
Mute yourself.
she's also a counseling psychologist and digital parenting expert, renowned for her work in cyber psychology and holistic well-being. She is author of a book known as Digital Parent Transformation, a journey from digital parent to digital leader. She has developed a pioneering program for parents to raise internet mature children. As the head of the digital parenting program at imature.in, Dr. Jha empowers families to navigate the digital age responsibly. She is a cyber psychology researcher and she shares insights to Psyche and Cyber, a monthly e-newsletter. Also, she is a certified yoga, meditation, and mindfulness trainer, just like me, advocating for balanced living in a technology driven world. Her expertise bridges mental health, digital literacy, and holistic wellness. So, over to you, Dr. Geetanjali Jha. Very happy to meet you here, and all our participants are eager to listen from you. So, let us begin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alka, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm glad that you too are an advocate of holistic well-being. I think most of us are here. Homeopaths generally like to cover all the bases. Okay, so I'll just quickly present my screen. And during the presentation, I'll keep my video off because the internet is a little glitchy over here. So just in order not to lose any information, just presenting my screen. Please let me know if it is visible. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it's visible,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear.
All right. I think I'm on the wrong screen. I'll just go back. Okay. Am I still audible though?
Yeah, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So, technogenic stress and its homeopathic management. Welcome, fellow practitioners. Today, we are going to dive into this topic of technogenic stress, which is a slice of cyber psychology, the research that I am doing in, and what are its effects and how we can manage these problems with the help of homeopathy. This is a very unique approach, and we're going to try and see how we can use homeopathic medicines with modern problems, because modern medicine is not helping as far as this type of stress is concerned. And as technology is becoming more and more embedded in our daily routines, we are seeing that new patterns of illnesses are emerging, and they really require our attention. My background in in homeopathy led me to the study of psychology, and from there I came into the specific field of cyber psychology, and I see that everything comes a full circle over here when I'm talking about solutions to technogenic stress through homeopathy. So let's just go ahead and see. Before we begin, I feel that it's my responsibility to tell you that this is not going to be just a theoretical presentation, but you will also get some practical tools and some practical advice. I'll share some medicines that I have come across which pop up in the cases very frequently, and you can also use all that knowledge and maybe research a little more. Yes? Is somebody saying anything? we'll start by exploring the holistic approach of homeopathy and how it is suited to address this technology-induced imbalances which we are facing in the current day. I'm pretty sure that you all are seeing such cases in your practice nowadays. And when we understand how the vital force responds to overstimulation from technology, then we are able to find out and select the most precise medicine during our case taking. So, first of all, what is technogenic stress? Now, this term, technogenic stress, this is something which popped up in my mind while I was preparing for this webinar. It is a term that I have coined, probably you haven't come across it anywhere else before today. Why this popped up into my head is because this is not a generic term. Terms like digital stress, tech stress, internet stress, or more other terms that are going around on Google these days, they seem to be quite superficial. But technogenic stress, as we know, the origin of the word comes from referring to technology, and genic means something that is producing it. So the stress and the problems which are being produced due to technology, due to overuse and misuse of technology, that is what I'm covering in technogenic stress. And when I talk about technogenic stress, I'm not just simply referring to feeling tired after screen use or very young children getting spectacles at a very young age, or just eye strain, or just back problems, or just neck strain or cervical. We are talking about something which is far more profound than these problems. Our brains were not evolved to process the volume and speed of data which we are processing now in the digital age. The amount of information that we consume daily is overstimulating, and that leads to neurological disruptions, and it leads to a lot of psychological stress. And these stresses are very similar to the trauma responses that we see in patients. The emotional trauma responses that we see after a bad incident that they come through, or symptoms like PTSD. All of these symptoms, the symptoms because of the neurological disruption and overstimulation because of information that we are consuming, is similar to trauma responses. Because the phone, the internet, it's all the time in our pocket, and there are constant alerts, constant notifications, and once you start looking at the screen, scrolling, all of that interferes with the dopamine and serotonin pathways that are there in our brain. And this is also very similar to the addictive patterns that we see in patients. Any kind of addiction you see, whether it is alcohol or any other kind of addiction, similar patterns are seen due to the disruption of dopamine and serotonin pathways. And the most concerning and grave part of this is that it reduces the neuroplasticity of the brain. The brain of a small child who is looking at a screen becomes so fogged because of looking at the screen all day, it becomes less adaptable to change. And this is something which we are going to oppose and which we are going to treat with the homeopathic approach. We are going to enhance the body's natural inherent adaptive capacity, and that's not just important for the growth of the brain but also for adjustment into the everyday life. So you all must be seeing around you not just adults but even smaller children. They are falling prey to a lot of mood and emotional disorders. If I may not use the term disorders, but a lot of stress they are feeling these days, a lot of emotional stress, anger issues, violence, aggression in small children we are seeing. That's all because of this neurochemistry of the brain being disrupted. Why is this topic so urgent? I don't think this question is even valid right now because you all might be aware of it. But just for the sake of addressing what I want to, I think technogenic stress is going to become one of the defining health challenges from our generation onwards. For the coming generations, it is already one of the defining factors of their life and of all their mental physical health issues. This makes our approach way more relevant today than it was at any other point of time before a a couple of years. I think after COVID, after 2020, this has become a more urgent issue. And in my practice, I have seen an exponential rise, a dramatic rise in patients who have symptoms that are coming because of digital overuse, like gaming addictions, like so many other stresses, the carpal tunnel syndromes we are seeing, neck issues, back issues. Young children are facing musculoskeletal problems and so many emotional issues, as I said earlier. And anxiety, sleep disturbances, concentration issues. We are not recognizing the technological component over there, or maybe we are, but it doesn't pop up so frequently. People are blaming their diet, their lifestyle, and everything, but very few people they are able to understand that this could be because of the digital overuse or because of technogenic problems. And this is a blind spot. It makes conventional treatment less effective. Modern medicine does not have solutions over here, but as homeopaths, we can actually see these connections and address the whole human being as such, and also take care of their lifestyle along with the problems that they're facing and address the cause at the root. These are certain symptoms, certain problems that we see in the day-to-day life, in the day-to-day practice: sleep deprivation, emotional exhaustion, burnout, chronic stress, lack of patience, lack of concentration, heightened fear and paranoia because of all the information, all the bad news that we are seeing online. And if you have ever noticed, if you have teenagers at home or adolescents at home, or if you see these age group of children very frequently, even 20 somethings, early 20s age group, they are more drawn to negative content than positive content. So all of this is leading to a lot of emotional problems and psychological problems. I'm not going to read out the whole array of this. I think you will get the recording, so you'll be able to access it, and you are all looking at these problems every single day. Let's see where else we're at. Neurological impacts. If you can just see the picture, people think that food and lifestyle is to blame, whereas nowadays the major cause of their problems is the technology, the screen that is there in our hand at all times. So what happens at the neurological level is that the brain's reward pathways, they become conditioned to seek instant gratification, constant stimulation. Every time, whenever you take out your screen, you are looking at Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or any such apps. We are getting instant gratification, right? Whatever we want to see is there at our fingertips. And now with the advent of AI, it's become even more easy. So there is a whole lot of lack of patience also over there. When we just Google something, get the definition, everything is there at our disposal. We don't want to pick up a book and read. I should probably not say we all the time, because we are the ones who are solving this problem. But yes, generally, I think all of us are a victim of this. So seeking novelty, constant stimulation, instant gratification, this is what is happening at the neurological level. Each notification is giving us a small hit of dopamine. And when is dopamine secreted in the brain? When we achieve something and it gives us a feeling of victory, it makes us feel good. And then it makes us motivated to do the same activity again. So if I'm looking at a reel and I'm getting a small surge of dopamine, I'm feeling good, I'll watch another, and then another, and then another. And so my brain is getting programmed to keep watching this. Over this time, over a long period of time, this is going to decline the cognitive functions or the executive functions of the brain, such as problem solving, decision making, shifting attention from one point to the other, thinking on your feet, presence of mind. All of this is getting dulled by the day at the neurological level. You might have seen patients in your practice who report that they feel scattered. They struggle to complete tasks. I am personally seeing a lot of people who even come for counseling that I start doing something with a lot of excitement, and then in the middle I just don't feel the motivation at all. And this problem, even though it was there in the past also, but nowadays the percentage of people reporting this problem has increased. It has increased by a lot. And these are clear indicators that the cognitive functions of the brain are getting impaired, because the brain is getting dull due to constant stimulation which is happening at the neural level because of the screens. And emotional instability, we are also seeing that small small little problems create exaggerated reactions. Like if the Wi-Fi is gone for 10 seconds, you see people becoming so frustrated and intensely angry, and that situation doesn't warrant that much of anger, isn't it? So all of this, too much anger, too much stress, too much anxiety, all of this is happening due to the overexposure. Now, again, I'm going to talk about dopamine. It does deserve a special attention because this small little hit of dopamine that people get due to screen overuse is fundamentally altering the motivation patterns in people. People are no more motivated to do tasks that require patience, that require time, and that require a little cognitive currency, because everything has become so easy. Google it, ask ChatGPT, ask Claude, ask DeepSeek. So the patience level is getting down, and along with that, chronic overstimulation is creating a thing called digital anhedonia, which means a reduced ability to experience pleasure or enjoyment from activities that would typically be pleasurable earlier. So not just do people stop enjoying the digital activities, but other activities as well. So nothing gives pleasure after a certain point of time, just like it happens in addictions, just like it happens in gambling. Once you keep doing it over and over and over again, you reach a point after which even the largest dose of it doesn't make you feel satisfied. The same is happening with digital addiction also. Patients feel empty, restless, they have everything, but they are still seeking for something, seeking for more pleasure. So this starts with online activities and then transfers quickly to offline activities also. And then the pleasure that they used to seek from offline activities and online activities, it starts to diminish. Just like reading a book or going out to the park with family, you might not find people enjoying it too much these days. And this creates the the balancing act. And that's also where homeopathy comes in. Then let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. This is the hub, this is the seat for higher order thinking. And noticeable changes are being seen in the prefrontal cortex of people due to excessive screen time. The prefrontal cortex is also showing a reduced gray matter in habitual and chronic screen users who are actually addicted to using their screens. So creativity, self-reflection, doing some novel work, all of these things are becoming diminished due to the effects on the prefrontal cortex. And that is the reason why mental fog and struggle to generate new ideas is also happening. And if you look at it, when AI is there to give you all the brainstorming that you require, why will you use your brain? And the less you use of a certain organ, the smaller it becomes, the more insignificant it becomes. We have seen that through evolution. And somehow the same thing is happening now, because all of these technological facilities that we have these days, they are making people become more dumb. So this is what is happening in the prefrontal cortex. And the cost of attentional switching are becoming very significant. Cost of attentional switching means switching your attention from one task to the other or trying to multitask. We all women especially, we are habitual multitaskers, right? But if you look at younger generation of kids, even women, they're finding it very hard, especially if they're using too much of technology in their everyday use. And each time we transition between task or notification, we lose up to 23%, 23 minutes of focused productivity. means you're going from one task that you are doing and going to the notification that you got on your phone. 23 minutes of focused productivity is lost over there. That is to say that our brain loses that much capacity. So these are subtle cognitive shifts that are happening, and all of their effect is coming in, and it is being shown in the behavior of people. And so all of this, it just forms an overall picture, and we must recognize this when we are recording our cases while taking the case history. Then physical manifestations are pretty clear. We have a fair idea about it. Usually people will come to you for physical problems like eye strain, neck, or sleep disruptions, circadian rhythm disruption, and sympathetic nervous system is always on. As in, that's of course the technical term, but they will tell you that they are constantly stressed. There's a feeling of generalized anxiety, too much sweating, not sleeping properly. Despite feeling tired, they're not able to feel. And all of these, as in physical manifestations, are the ones that we will mostly see in our practice, but we also have to go through the whole profile and of course the psychology and mental symptoms of the person to see at what level the damage is done, because physical symptoms are probably the last to come. A whole lot of damage is done in the background already. So sympathetic dominance from the ANS is becoming more and more prominent. So sympathetic dominance for I don't know if somebody is not aware of the term, it means that the sympathetic nervous system takes care of emergency situations. So there is a persistent low grade stress response that is there in the body, which hinders the body to repair itself and restore balance during rest. Because even during rest, people are looking at their phones, looking at their screens, which is leading to a lot of physical problems as well. So in the picture, you can see that we evolved from a man, like from apes, the general Darwin's theory, that we evolved from a hunchback, bending down kind of species to Homo erectus, standing up straight, and now we are going back because of the screens. This is not a good sign. Psychological impacts, although we have talked a little bit about it, but generally the psychological impacts of screen overuse and screen misuse can be misdiagnosed as primary anxiety or mood disorders. And this is happening more frequently than you can imagine, especially in the circles that I talk about psychology, clinical psychologists and psychiatrists. They are diagnosing it as primary anxiety or mood disorders rather than looking at the technogenic anxiety that people are having. Information overload, decision fatigue, and patients reporting that they are unable to make the simplest of choices by the end of the day. Social isolation is particularly concerning. People are constantly connected on the internet, but they are still feeling lonely. Especially the younger generations, they feel profound loneliness that leads them to do very, very, very undue activities at certain times, just so that they can have somebody to talk to them, which is quite concerning. The digital interactions, they lack the warmth that physical and normal face-to-face interactions have. And the most concerning psychological impact would be the reduction of empathy. You see that people are more they become more bullying and trolling online. फिल्म स्टार्स को ट्रोल करना, किसी के बारे में कुछ भी कमेंट लिख देना. Why is it happening? Because there's a veil of anonymity behind which people can hide. स्क्रीन के पीछे बैठे हैं हम, किसी को क्या पता चल रहा है मैं कौन हूँ? I can make an account with some fake name and just keep doing whatever I'm doing, and that is unleashing the worst part of people online. So behind a mask, there's a lot of lack of empathy that they're showing, no regard for what the other people might be feeling. And after a prolonged screen usage, there is decreased emotional responsiveness also. So again, it comes to the excess of anger and reacting in a way that is not appropriate, and also flat effect, like not feeling feeling any kind of emotions, even in certain situations. You might have seen certain reels, and we all make fun of them. That a person is there at the cemetery, somebody is being buried, and they are taking a selfie. What is it if lack of emotional responsiveness and lack of empathy? Is that an appropriate activity to do? Of course not. But people are lacking it. And these psychological impacts, we know that mental problems, they create miasmatic susceptibilities, and then it requires a constitutional approach in addition to symptomatic relief. Now we come to the homeopathic approach to it. This has distinct advantages, of course, because we're going to take into account not just the physical symptoms, but also the holistic symptoms, the mental symptoms, and the underlying issues, the susceptibilities, modalities, everything that makes certain constitutions more vulnerable to technogenic stress. Not everybody is the same kind of vulnerable, but certain constitution might be. So, by understanding both the kind of things, the acute problems like eye strain, tension, headaches, etc., and taking into account the constitutional picture of the person, we can provide more comprehensive and holistic care to people. And of course, lifestyle changes are required. We'll definitely come to that. But now I'm going to present certain medicines which have popped up very frequently in my own practice, and some of them I've read about a lot extensively. However, there could be other medicines as well. So, just putting it out there that these are not the only medicines, of course, but these are some that I have used. So, first of all, Nux vomica. This is the perfect medicine for a digital workaholic profile. As you can see in the picture, email is being sent at 1 a.m. So, this person is just constantly working, and I think that I might be one of these to a certain extent. Last night I sent the PPT to Dr. Rachna at 2 a.m. So probably. So these people, they will compulsively check their emails and messages all the time. कुछ message तो नहीं आया, boss का तो नहीं आया ये. And if they are checking their mails or doing their work at ungodly hours like the middle of the night and they are interrupted, they become irritated. And this could be a modern equivalent of the Nux vomica picture. They show sympathetic dominance clearly and hypervigilance. They are always active, always on. And they report tension headaches. And these headaches, they concentrate around the temple and occipital region, and they aggravate after screen use. Gastric hyperacidity is there in these patients, and it worsens with digital stress. So there's a mind and stomach, mind-gut connection, if you may. And the classic 3 to 4 a.m. waking is particularly pronounced and quite observable in these patients. And their thoughts are usually about incomplete digital tasks. वो mail नहीं भेजा, वो PPT नहीं बनाया, वगैरह वगैरह. Such kind of thoughts they have. And these modalities, we always know that mental exertion makes it worse, and brief rest will make it better. But then again, if the maintaining cause is there, then there's a problem. So a couple of patients that I gave Nux 32 with these kind of symptoms, they responded quite well. And these are some of the rubrics. I'll not read them out because we are running out of time. We'll go to the next medicine after this, gelsemium. This is different from this is different from Nux vomica, obviously. And these people, they exhibit anticipatory anxiety around digital performance. Like before sending a mail, before preparing a PPT, before submitting a report, before logging in to their email to check if their superior or colleague has sent a mail, they feel anxious. That is the key symptom over here. And they will either delay the important calls or video conferences or Zoom meetings or something, or they will just simply freeze once the call starts. And it's a kind of stage fright, but now it has become digital. Neurologically, this represents parasympathetic paralysis, the literal freezing before the digital interactions. There would be trembling and weakness, physical shaking, not just metaphorically inside they're not shaking, but even physically they'll shake and they'll feel very trembly and all of that before important online events. nitricum to this. Argentum has a restless anxiety, but these people, Gelsemium profile, they become immobilized. That kind of anticipation and anxiety they have. And modalities are there: worse from anticipation and better from quiet distractions. So some behavioral change might be required, but Gelsemium 200 has worked for the patients that I've seen. Then rubrics. Okay. Next is Argentum nitricum. This is a person with impulsive digital behavior. As you can see in the picture, I found this quite funny. Person is sending the text and then immediately regretting it. Oh my god, what have I sent? So posting without thinking and then regretting it. So they have more excitatory neurotransmitters, and that is highly in imbalance, and so it gives their online behavior a hurried quality. जल्दी जल्दी पोस्ट कर दो, अरे कुछ भी थॉट आया फटाफट टाइप किया and they just post it. These patients also have stomach problems like gurgling and gases, the same kind of anticipatory anxiety which is seen in regular Argentum cases, but now it has become digital anticipation and digital anxiety. Their communication will be very lengthy. They will send multiple messages. If somebody asks them a question on WhatsApp, say for example, they will over explain and ask for a lot of follow-up messages. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Is it done? That way. They crave sugar, and when they eat sugar, their already unstable nervous system becomes more unstable. They feel worse after that, and they have a little, can't say that it is claustrophobia, but they feel that small spaces make them feel more anxious, and the digital expectations that are made of them also make them feel anxious. Fresh air and open spaces provide relief to them, and these patients can be suggested a little outdoor break at certain times. So Argentum can be given in 30 or 200 potencies, depending upon the kind of patient that you have on the, okay, there are certain questions in the chat. I'll take them at the end. Thank you, Dr. Rachna. All right. So, yeah, 30 or 200 potency can be given depending upon the kind of constitution and how acute or chronic the problem is. You're seeing the rubrics on the screen. Next, we come to Coffea cruda. This is a good medicine for addressing digital sleep disruption. So I'll just look at my screen for 5 more minutes, and then they can't stop late night scrolling or doom scrolling. Even if they are feeling tired, their eyes are watering, burning. So this cerebral hyperemia in these cases, and the sensation and the thoughts in the mind are as if the mind won't shut off. And I have literally had patients saying, मेरा दिमाग काम करना बंद ही नहीं करता है, and the moment I keep my phone away, I feel like picking it up again and looking at it, even though I am very, very sleepy. So in addition to medicine, I also suggest, because see, habits and behaviors are very difficult to change. I cannot just say you are taking this medicine, now you have to shut your eyes and sleep at 9 p.m. That will not happen. What we have to do is we have to give the mind some other carrot. So what I usually tell them is, sorry, I'm digressing a little, but these behavioral changes are also important. What I usually tell them is, if you keep feeling like scrolling your phone, even though you are very tired and sleepy, maybe don't look at the screen, but rather hear something. Like put on some smooth instrumental music or some meditation or some sleep stories, so that you can shut your eyes, but your brain doesn't feel anxious due to not having some stimulation. And slowly, gradually, that stimulation can be cut down as they start getting better. So suddenly we cannot have a polar change in the activities. So this is a sensation that these people have, and that leads to a lot of palpitations and a lot of anxiety in these people. When they see emotional content, then also their heartbeat will rise and they'll feel very, very anxious after that, and a lot of palpitations will be there. And this content could be some web series, some movie, and even sometimes looking at social media or work emails, they feel the palpitations. These people, these patients of cophia, they are hypersensitive to all stimuli in their work environment, especially after digital exposure. And turning the lights low, turning the voices low, that can give them a little relief. And louder sounds and brighter lights is always worsening, aggravating for them. 30, Cophia 30 has worked for one patient that I had. For others, yeah, some other medicines were recommended. So yes, restriction and change of bedtime patterns is very important, especially where sleep problems are concerned. Next, we come to Kali-Foss profile. Mental exhaustion that is after prolonged cognitive digital work, after doing a lot of brainstorming and a lot of working on the screens, they feel extremely exhausted, and they feel having their brain fried. Oh, baapre, just like a laptop gets fried if there's a lightning and thunderstorm, brain is fried. All the neural circuitry is completely fried off after using so much things. They have occipital headaches that feel like a band of pressure, like a tight band is there, and digestive discomfort correlated with mental strain. They benefit very much with alternating mental work with physical activity. So this is something which is very typical in Kali-Foss profile. Light physical activity and mental work alternate karne se they feel better. And even small breaks between doing the screen work will not make them feel so much mentally exhausted as they did before starting the treatment. So again, along with the treatment, certain changes in habits is also good. Kali-Foss 6x, thrice a day, it works. And it works with chronic conditions also with marked exhaustion. There also 6x is quite good. Rubrics. Ruta, I guess you all must be wondering where is Ruta, because eye strain is there. Now Ruta is addressing not just the eye strain but also all kinds of physical strain from digital activities, the neck pain, the bruised kind of feeling overall in the body. Due to constant sitting, lack of activity, it feels as if the joints of the person, they've rusted. So that's why I made the photo of a robot over here. This is how they feel, like a creaky door or like creaky hinges in the joints. Tendonitis might be there, irritation and stiffness in certain parts of the body that is worse after remaining in one position for a long time. These patients usually report that their screens, they seem to cause a particular strain, whereas reading printed material relieves the pain. So if they read something online, that worsens the pain, and reading from a book might make them feel better, and reading produces lesser strain, which is quite obvious. Reading a book is less stressful. But if this symptom is of aggravation and amelioration, then Ruta is very good. They find relief through gentle movements, like खड़े होके एकदम से बहुत ज़्यादा activity नहीं, but little stretching, little rotating of joints and shoulders, that is always better for them. And they should do these activities during long hours of doing their digital work. So get up, stretch a little, take a little walk, shoulder rotation, neck rotation, that's always good. So in addition to eye strain, strain in the whole body is something that is indicative of Ruta, and Ruta 30 twice daily is usually good. Then rubrics of Ruta. Conium Mac. This matches emotional numbness, especially if it comes after digital saturation. So numbness, detachment, feeling disconnected from their own emotions, and feeling like they are watching their own life from a screen. They feel a sense of depersonalization, that this is not me, this is not my body, this is not my life. These experiences are not happening to me. So that kind of numbness is exhibited in conium. And mental dullness is there, cognitive processes become disrupted, and it's not just fatigue, but it is more of an emotional disruption and emotional detachment. They become fatigued as well as emotionally very detached and kind of despondent. Everything is nonsense, that kind of a thing. They develop rigidity in their thoughts and physical posture after extended use. So they might become fixated on certain things in their thoughts, and body also becomes stiff after a lot of digital use. And the again, I'm coming back to the same thing, that the most prominent sign, the most prominent tell of this medicine is the emotional flatness. So earlier some activities were enjoyable, but now they are not, and they don't even register. Like if they like to listen to music at one point of time, after they have fallen into this kind of a profile, they will stop enjoying music also. It will not even feel good to them. If music is playing, their favorite song is playing, their favorite singer is singing, it won't even register on their mind. So that kind of dullness of senses is there. They benefit from periods of contemplative solitude, but it is very hard for them to go into it, because emotions तो है ही नहीं, emotions एकदम numb हो गए हैं, तो contemplation कहाँ से होगा? For that you have to have feel something. So Ponium, this medicine, it helps them to come to that feeling, that place where the feelings start to resurface, and the emotions, they start to be re-experienced. So from being extremely emotionally flat, the range comes back a little bit, and then contemplation and solitude away from digital stimulation is good for them. Natramure. This medicine matches those people who withdraw emotionally despite constant digital connection. So as you can see in the picture, the person is not so happy, but their online profile will seem very happy. It's like they have a mask, just like the actual symptoms of natrum, that they're hiding something, comes from the sea. So the sea hides a lot of deep secrets. So natrum people are hiding something within themselves, and they're showing the world something else. They will maintain active social media profiles, they will not let go of it, but at the same time, nobody will come to know what they're actually feeling inside their own hearts. They are very disconnected, and they never show their real feelings. This happens because of the hypothalamic pituitary dysregulation, and manifests as silent sadness, which is rarely expressed. They have very distinct quality, starting at the beginning of screen use, and then worsening from the bright light, the headaches, the dullness, the fatigue, the eye pain. It starts from staring at the screen, and then it worsens as as long as they keep looking at the screen, it will worsen. It's a distinct quality here. The characteristic of drying of mouth during screen use is also there, and they reject consolation, superficial consolations. अरे सब ठीक हो जाएगा, कोई बात नहीं, सब ऐसे ही हैं ये. They reject that kind of consolation. It doesn't help them. But if there is good connection from someone, if they feel that somebody is genuinely connected to them, they'll probably not immediately open up to them about what they are feeling, but they appreciate it, and that could actually make them feel better. So they could be advised to connect with those that are genuinely concerned about them, like parents, like spouse, like siblings, and good friends, rather than having a bunch of people online and talking to them, or having a lot of superficial friends. So deep connections is what they require. And Natramure in 201 potency has seemed to work tremendously with such people. This is the rubrics. Next we come to euphrasia. So euphrasia, of course, it is for the eyes and ocular manifestations of digital exposure. They report burning in the eyes, watering of eyes, and this worsens during screen use, and then there would be redness and all also. the sensitivity, hypersensitivity of mucous membranes is also there, and this discomfort, the hypersensitivity and the discomfort, it stays for hours after the exposure of screen has ended. So if right now they will put away their screen, their eyes, their the whole mucous membrane, even mouth and throat, sometimes they become very irritated, and it remains for a very long time. Light sensitivity is also there, and it becomes more and more pronounced in these people the more they are exposed to the screen. And at the end of the day, they'll just want less lighting and less screens with them. But again, if they are addicted, then that's a problem for them, and it is a maintaining cause. So this is a remedy which suggests outdoor breaks again, and 20-20-20 rule that we usually apply for screens, that after every 20 minutes, look at a point that is 20 feet away for 20 seconds to relax the eyes and relax the lacrimation, activate the lacrimation and all of that. So yeah, that is the Freesia profile for you. And we have the rubrics. And the last medicine for today is picric acid. This is especially for mental exhaustion from intellectual work and digital overload. So mental exhaustion from intellectual work is the symptom of this. Now digital overload is added to it after doing a lot of intellectual work online. The overload starts. They report deep occipital headaches and again profound mental fatigue that intensifies when long screen sessions are done. Complete mental prostration is one symptom that comes to mind when you think about this medicine, and concentration, thinking, developing a new thought, it becomes as bad as a physically laborious task. It becomes very, very difficult and almost impossible after a long exposure to screen and after doing intellectual work online. Cognitive processing becomes sluggish and slow, and the patient, they report that they have to limit complex mental tasks to shorter periods. They cannot do intellectual work for a long period. They have to do it in short bursts and short periods of time. Screen work and continued mental exertion will aggravate their symptoms, and that confirms the remedy, the application of the remedy. And they need complete rest and immersion in nature to have noticeable relief along with the medicine. So again, I think in most remedies, breaks are what are required, and addressing the deeper constitutional remedies if a person has this medicine indicated. 30 potency usually works. These are the rubrics. Now, only medicine will not do the work. Lifestyle has to be changed, just like in any other kind of problem we see, stomach problems or whatever the cause of the problem. For technogenic stress also, the lifestyle change and holistic approach has to be there. So you can see proper nutrition, omega-3s, magnesium, B complex, proper diet, digital hygiene, reducing the screen time, and doing all the physical activities that are good for the body. Exercise is important for proper feel-good neurotransmitters. Yoga is important for the flexibility. Outdoor sports are important for building the muscles and building the lungs, especially if you are dealing with younger children. Physical activity, games, sports, all these have to be suggested along with the prescription of medicines. And somatic regulation, breath work, postural rest, and eye exercises, as I said, 20-20-20. This has to be taken into account. Now, when we talk about digital addiction or tech-generated stress, technogenic stress and everything, behavior is the one thing that needs to be changed first. All of these other things that we talked about, taking your vitamins, doing physical workout, blah, 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 all of this is a part of behavior change. Somebody wants to leave the screen and become healthier, It is not going to happen overnight. And if we are talking about behavioral change, we cannot expect a behavior to change in vacuum. We cannot diminish one behavior and not put a healthy behavior in its place. So, if we want people to minimize the screen usage, we have to have them understand that offline work, which feels rewarding, has to be replaced, has to be substituted in the place of empty scrolling of screens, so that the dopamine cycle can be reset. You are getting empty dopamine, constant hit because of your online scrolling and doing all the online work. But natural dopamine, the actual thing which makes you motivated to do more work and makes life and body balanced, that will come from offline natural work through offline accomplishments. So that behavior, the online behavior has to be replaced with offline behavior, maladaptive to adaptive, right? Mindfulness practices have to be done. That there has to be intentional digital consumption. You cannot just keep scrolling through screens and um, not benefiting from it. Why are you doing it? You can't keep doing a certain activity without some actual take away from that activity. And what is doom scrolling or just playing games giving them? It is only giving them addiction and a lot of desensitization. So that has to be replaced, and digital consumption has to become mindful. So asking a question, why am I going to use the screen right now? What am I supposed to achieve by looking at my screen at this particular moment? And is it really that important? So, understanding the priority, understanding the goal, and understanding the importance and urgency of doing that work right now. Structured digital detox zones in the house. So there have to be scheduled times and screen free zones in the house. No screens inside the bedroom, no screen on the dinner table, no screen during family conversations. And if you're treating patients like this, please make sure that the whole family is on board with this, because if papa is using phone on the table and asking the son to not use it, it is not going to serve the purpose. Everybody has to be on the same page. Only then behavior modifications can happen. And trust me, if we are giving medicines but not doing behavior modification, the problems will only keep coming back, because screens are there to stay. We can't just say कि हाँ एक बार दवाई दे दिया and everything is going to be okay forever. Cognitive anchoring, visualization, and grounding techniques. So this basically activates the parasympathetic nervous system, just like meditation, and it makes the body's fight and flight mechanism go to rest for some time, and maintains the body, makes it more emotionally aware of the surroundings, and more focused in the everyday life away from the screens. There are more behavior modification techniques, but I'm afraid that we will run out of time if I start talking about all of them. But yeah, I am almost at the end of the presentation, and I think this is the takeaway from today's presentation that I'd like to recap, that technogenic stress represents both a challenge and opportunity for homeopathic practice. Homeopaths can provide solutions that conventional approaches miss by recognizing new symptom patterns related to digital technology use. So I'm emphasizing this again and again because conventional medicine, modern medicine, does not have a solution to it. What they do is they further numb the senses of the patients by treating them with the psychiatric medicines. Properly matched remedies can restore balance to systems disrupted by modern technology, and practitioners should incorporate questions about digital habits into their case taking. So somebody asked a question in the chat, what kind of questions do you ask the person? So in my practice, what I'm doing is I'm taking the full history of the patient, just as we do usually, and I especially ask them about their digital habits. How many hours of the day are you using your phones? Are you using it in your bed? What kind of content are you watching? And depending upon the age of the person also, I ask them questions. So the questions have to be relatable, and if somebody wants a list of certain pre-made questions, then I'll be very happy to provide that as well. However, I haven't curated it as yet, but still if somebody wants it, please ask me. Digital habits reveal crucial information for remedy selection. So this is a very important point because um, before technology became a very permeating part of our lives, there were certain pillars of development we were dealing with. अच्छा खाओ, अच्छी बातें करो, पढ़ाई करो, and things are set. If diet is problematic, if lifestyle is problematic, if you're sitting too much, then you are going to fall sick. If you're exposed to some such condition your body doesn't agree to, then you are susceptible to certain problems. But these days, because of the digital technology, there are things which we tend to miss. Diet might not be a problem, lack of exercise might not be a problem, having good company might not be a problem, but digital overuse or digital misuse can be a problem. So that is why I named the presentation Technogenic Stress, because where sometimes if you do not find the reason for somebody's problem in any other aspect of life, you might find it in their digital habits. So please take care of this. And I'm available for follow-up discussions. And whenever you implement these approaches, you can think about me. I'll give my email ID, and my WhatsApp number is there in the group as it is. And I have structured workshops on digital parenting where I teach parents how to make their children internet mature, use technology mindfully, keep themselves safe from online dangers, from all of these risks, physical, emotional, cyber crime, cyberbullying, keep themselves safe from all this, and still make the best use of technology and make the best use of internet. So these are certain things that I am doing, and you can find a summary of it on this page. This is a digital parent transformation book that I have written. This is the program, the training program for parents, and it is for educators as well, for any adult as such who deals with kids and children. Digital citizenship and internet maturity stories for children. These are certain bedtime stories which I have created with a modern twist. Just like we have Panchatantra stories or Aesop's fables and all. Now what I have tried to do is teach digital sanskar to the children. Means how not to misuse the internet, how to keep yourself and your friends safe in the online world. So this is a book with those kind of stories for very young age, up to 8 years of age. And Psyche and Cyber is my newsletter, and this is my contact information.